Hey, futurist Jim Carroll from the virtual broadcast studio. Look at that, I got a spot in my head. That's a little bit of a light, oops, not that way, light adjustment. Listen, if you go and check my website, jimcarroll.com, you will see that I've added to my title of futurist, trends, and innovation expert, Professional Optimist. That's the branding I'm going to run through for this year. And I'm about to go live here with a little show to describe why I did that. And it's all framed around my 10 great words and phrases for 2022. So going to hit a button and going to go back there to my stage, and hopefully this will all work and be good. Give it a watch. Futurist Jim Carroll from the virtual broadcast studio. Every year we start out our year talking about our hopes, our dreams, our visions for the future. And I thought it appropriate this year, 2022, to outline what I'm thinking of and explore the concepts that might define our approach to an extremely challenging year going forward. What I really wanted to do this year was focus on the theme of optimism. Look, we've all been through a lot. 2021 wasn't a heck of a lot of fun. 2020 was a little bit worse. And as we go into 2022, we've got a battle to get into those reserves of optimism that we might have to get us through this. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to talk to someone who was relentlessly focused on this idea of optimism to see what we could learn, if there's anything we might be able to get. Now, I looked around and I came across somebody who I think has managed to be relentlessly optimistic through this thing, futurist Jim Carroll. I brought him into the broadcast studio now to talk about this issue of optimism. And it's actually kind of interesting because that seems to be one of the core words that he uses to define himself. And I was having to look at his website this morning just before going live, and I noticed something kind of interesting in his description of what he does on his homepage. Futurist Jim Carroll, disruptive trend and innovation expert. And then have a look at that professional optimism. I mean, the guy has framed himself as being a professional optimist. I thought this might really fit the bill in terms of exploring what this whole optimism theme might be about as we go into 2022. So I invited Jim into the studio, and he's going to describe to us first what he has done through the years as he sets into every single new year with his 10 great words. Going way back to a blog post he wrote in 2005. Jim, welcome to the show. Tell me about your 10 great words for 2005. What caused you to put them together and why they became so important to you and so many others? Hey, thanks for having me in. First off, this is a little weird being interviewed by yourself, but what the heck? Look, it's 2004. I'm rebuilding my business with a lot of changing topics and a focus on growth. And I wanted to focus on what I could do the next year to really try to pursue opportunity. But it wasn't just that. I was talking a lot about innovation and creativity at the time. And I noticed within my client base a lot of attitudes and ideas that were holding people back. So I rolled those into 10 great words for 2005. I put it out as a blog post. I wrote it into a nice PDF. And they were words like try, dare, do, focus, growth. They were words that really defined how can we focus on opportunity going forward into the future and really pursue creativity and innovation to get there. What happened with that was that drew a lot of attention, and it actually became, for the next decade, a really effective way of closing my keynote speeches on stage, because I would walk the audience through, here's 10 great words that you should adopt for going forward into your fast-paced future. And so here we are now. You've got and put together 10 phrases for 2022. Lead us through what you've put together for this year as sort of your guide to the mindset that we can adopt trying to go forward into this very strange and challenging new year, year number 3 of this global pandemic. Yeah, first off, I've been putting together this list of 10 words every single year since 2005. Some of them have been published, others have not, but they really guide me forward. And I was thinking about them this year, about 2 weeks ago, and thinking, here we are, we're battered and bruised. This pandemic is on. We have a lot of uncertainty in our lives. What is the real mindset, that the challenges that we're faced with, and the actions we need to pursue, and the ideas and concepts that we need to focus on to continue to help to get us through as we come up on the 2-year anniversary? And that rolled into my 10 words and phrases for 2022. So your very first word or phrase is hopeful resilience. What are you talking about here? What can this tell us? Well, let's take it apart. Number one, hopeful. We all believe there's a future out there. We know this thing, someday is going to wind down. It's not going to come to an end, but we know there's going to be a lot of opportunity. There's going to be a future out there. So that's the first part of that phrase. The second phrase is resilience. I think what we've always all been concentrating on as we go through these emotional highs and lows is how do we build an outer shell? How do we focus on resilience? How do we sort of keep our mindset intact as we continue to go into this crazy new future? Hopeful resilience. I think that's a really good phrase that we can focus on, that helps to get us right off into a great mindset for 2022. And that leads into, obviously, the second one in your list, relentless optimism. What does that really mean to you? How do you remind yourself of the importance of optimism? Well, I've been reminding myself that every single day for the last 30 years when I've been working on my own. I've got one friend who accuses me of being overwhelmingly, relentlessly optimistic. I think I decided a long time ago that, look, when it comes to the future, I can see it as a threat, as a challenge, as something to be feared, or I can view it as an opportunity to be pursued. And that's really what I chose to do, is the latter. I try and remind myself every single day to be optimistic. Look, I get up in the morning, and the very first thing I do since 2016 is I write my daily inspiration. They're at inspiration.jimcarroll.com. And they're focused on the future, they're focused on trends, they're focused on creativity, they're focused on optimism. Just by the act of writing that every single day, I have not missed one work day since 2016. I launched myself into a day in which I'm really focused on the optimism which is ahead of me, rather than the negativity of the challenges that I might encounter. Okay, it leads to your third phrase, and this one really sort of captures the essence of our times. Pervasive volatility. Tell me about that. There's a leadership concept that's been around for quite some time, and I've talked about it a lot on stage. VUCA, V-U-C-A. We are faced with a world of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Now, that was around before COVID. That really now defines our world. Volatility, I mean, everything is volatile. There's a lot of wild, new, fast-paced trends occurring out there, and that comes with a lot of uncertainty. We're not quite sure what's going to happen next. I would often say on stage, look, we don't know where we're going, but we're making great time. The third element of that phrase, complexity. Look, the world is far more complex today than it was 5 years ago. Far more complex with the pandemic than it was 2 years ago. So we've got to learn to manage more complexity, and we've got to do that in the context of ambiguity. There's no clarity on where we're going to go. And so a good part of our mindset is managing VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. If we recognize it for what it is, we can do a lot better job in managing the challenges that the future is going to throw at us. And then on your list, you've got something that you call restless determination. What do you think of the challenges that people are facing, as they see so much volatility and uncertainty and complexity and ambiguity all around them? I actually think I was talking to myself when I came up with this phrase. I find my life today is a little bit restless. There's so much uncertainty and volatility around us that we get a little bit restless and impatient with the progress of getting through this thing, but we are determined to get through it. And I was thinking about that one day, and I just thought, well, what's the real mindset I'm in? I'm restlessly determined. And I think by recognizing that, and if you recognize that in yourself, it sort of helps to frame your mindset that, hey, look, okay, I need to work a little bit harder to get through that. I need to reinforce the determination. I need to get away from being restless and accepting, this strange world for what it is. Okay, so next on the list is sporadic pursuit of opportunity. I think I've got a bit of an idea of what you're talking about here, but tell us a bit more.
Well, this is directly related to restless determination. So we know there's opportunity out there. We decide to pursue it, but I think we do it sporadically because we try something that, whoa, the world changes, Omicron comes along, it sets us back, we pause. I think we've got to recognize that by utilizing this phrase, sporadic pursuit of opportunity, we've got to recognize that we aren't really doing a good job at managing our emotions and getting through this thing 2 years in. We get subjected a little bit too much to all the uncertainty, and we can battle our way through that. That might help us pursue the future and opportunity a little bit better.
So what does that sporadic pursuit of opportunity lead to? You talk about the paradox of active inaction. That sounds like where we might really be today.
Well, think about what we do every day. We start a project and we pause. We start something, then we pause. We start something, then we pause. We start something, then we pause. We get very active, and then we get slammed in the head with the latest thing, and we become inactive. It's sort of related to a phrase I talked about way back in 2002, aggressive indecision. I looked at my clients then, and we were indecisive about the future. We couldn't make a decision about what to do next because we didn't have a lot of clarity on where to go. So we were becoming indecisive, but not only that, we were becoming aggressively indecisive. And I think the same type of thing is happening now with the stop, start attitude. We're actively inactive. And by recognizing that, then maybe we can battle against that and ensure that we're focused on action and moving forward.
So then you concentrate on flexibility and adaptability and agility. Why are those such important words, and how can they guide us forward into this new future?
We've got to be prepared for literally anything. Who knows what is going to come next? Who knows what twists and turns we are going to be faced with? Who knows what the world of volatility is going to bring us? Who knows where we're going to be in 3 months? And if that is the case, if we're in this world of a massive lack of clarity, we've got to be prepared to be flexible and be willing to change on a dime. We can't become ingrained to a certain position or attitude or opinion. We've got to be prepared to adapt to the reality of all the volatility that is going to continue to perhaps rage around us.
So what happens is we start to lose sight of opportunity. You talk about really the challenge being one of avoiding squandered opportunity. What do you mean by that?
I think what really happens here is this is really a unique period in human history. And I think what is occurring here is we've got extremely fast-paced change. I mean, look, business models are changing faster than ever before. Entire industries are undergoing, dramatic change. Customers have changed in very significant ways. The entire concept of the workforce has changed. So we have all these fast-paced trends. But here we're suffering from uncertainty and complexity and ambiguity, and we're actively in action. And so I think what happens is we're not really aligning ourselves to the fast-paced change and opportunity that is unfolding. So let's recognize that we're squandering a lot of opportunities if we don't solve these mindset challenges, these barriers to action that we've put in place. So let's recognize that, maybe we're living in a world of squandered opportunity. If we recognize that, we can decide not to do that anymore.
And then you've always stressed that you try not to be political, but number 9 on your list is really interesting. You talk about battling incessant incivility. What are you driving at here? What do we really need to do to get through this?
Oh, wow. I mean, the world has changed. It's changed since 2016. It's changed with the pandemic. There's a lot of not nice people around. Social media has become a minefield. You post something and you can be attacked by all kinds of people, many of whom you question their sanity. I think part of what is happening is we have to work on our mindset to align ourselves to the future. And when we do that, when we focus on optimism and we focus on opportunity, we come up against the naysayers. We come up against the negative people. There's more negative people around. There's more hostile around. There's more people around who are simply not nice. And we've got to work harder to tune that out. I try and do that. And I tell you, it's a battle. It is a battle. If I post something on social media and you get some wacko comes along and makes a negative comment about it that is, completely out of left field, you just have to decide to yourself, I'm not going to engage. I'm going to back off. I'm not going to be a part of that because I'm going to be focused on opportunity, optimism, the future. Do in my realm of influence to create myself a better future, rather than deal and try to fix all the incivility that is out there. I think we're living through a period of time that involves deep social malaise. I don't know where it's going to go. I tend to really worry about that. But hey, let's focus on optimism.
So then you close off your list of 10 phrases for 2022 with manufacturing personal invincibility. What are you trying to do, and what do you think the guidance is for other people?
I think what I try and do each and every day is reinforce my outer shell of optimism. Optimism is the thing that gets me through. Optimism is the thing that protects me from the negativity. Optimism is the action that helps me to move forward when there might be so many things which are trying to pull me back. Optimism is the thing which holds me up when there's so many things trying to pull me down. And I think by thinking like that, what I'm doing is I'm really manufacturing this sort of bubble of optimism all around me, which protects me. I'm manufacturing my personal ability to weather this storm, the pandemic, and fast-paced change. Because it has been going on a long, long time. And look, we all got to admit it's very difficult to get through this day by day, one day at a time. So the more I focus on manufacturing my personal invincibility, the more you do that, the better positioned you are to continue going forward into this thing where we don't know where we're going, but we're making great time.
And so with all that, you bill yourself as a professional optimist. Is that something new for this year, or is that something you've been doing for quite some time?
I think I've always been a professional optimist. Look, I would walk out on stage for many years and say, some people see the future and see a threat. Others, optimists, see the same future and see an opportunity. Optimism is oxygen. I think I've made optimism so much a part of what I am and what I do that, a couple of weeks ago, I was sitting down, I was looking at my website, Jim Carroll, futurist. Well, I talk about the future, creativity and innovation. I identify pathways to align to a fast-paced future through creativity and innovation. And I had sort of this third blank space there. And I thought, well, optimist. I'm a professional optimist. My job has become to provide people with the inspiration and the motivation and the courage and the shell of invincibility provided through optimism to align to a really fast-moving, challenging, scary, but full of opportunity future. So, I decided this year, let's call it for what it is. I'm a professional optimist. I'm a futurist who happens to be a professional optimist. I will walk out on stage. I will do a virtual presentation and say, guess what? Your future, it doesn't suck. It's full of opportunity. Some people see the future and see a threat. You see opportunity, and I'm going to share that with you now.
Well, listen, thanks for coming on to the show. And where can people find this year's list, 10 phrases for 2022, and where can they learn a little bit more about you?
Well, there's a number of sites. Number one, the words and phrases I've just covered, those are at 10greatwords2022.jimcarroll.com. The original 10 Great Words, 10greatwords.jimcarroll.com. It's still a really good read. Here it is 16 years later. My daily motivational or optimism or inspiration post is at inspiration.jimcarroll.com. And of course, there's a big, massive website, jimcarroll.com. I'm on social media. I'm firing out bullets of optimism, laser weapons of inspiration every single day because, I'm realizing more and more the job of folks like me is to help to provide people hope for the future, the hopeful resilience for what comes next.
That's it for now. Futurist Jim Carroll from the virtual broadcast studio.